Hey there, it's Pete over at the Sampleist, and today we are checking out Monolith from Orchestral Tools. Orchestral Tools have once again teamed up with the enigmatic Richard Harvey to bring us Monolith, an orchestral percussion library of epic percussions. Recorded in Lyndhusrt Hall at Air Studios, these 53 rare and unique drums contain a wealth of tonal variety and articulations across 68 different patches. The drums are presented in singular, ensemble and processed form and promise to provide your scoring with that hard-hitting cinematic smack. Monolith downloads at 27 GB SINEarc compressed and has been recorded in 24-bit 48 kHz resolution. It has 10 mic signals and of course runs in the free Orchestral Tools SINE Player, which will need to be updated to the latest version. It's currently on sale for €199 plus VAT until April the 17th. After the intro period has ended, it will go up to €299 plus VAT. In this video, we are going to check out Monolith and see what sounds it contains, how it's all laid out, and obviously check out the different mic mixes, and then we are going to throw it into a big, epic, cinematic, orchestral composing challenge. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Orchestral Tools for sending over a copy of Monolith so we could make this video. Of course, while we do get the instruments for free, it does not cloud our thoughts, ideas or judgments in any way. With all of that said, let's check out Monolith. And here we have Monolith loaded up in the Orchestral Tools free SINE Player. Sounds lovely. Really, really big sounding drums. Okay, now, first of all, let's just talk about the instrument, the way it's mapped. I've loaded up the massive mid-range instrument. Now, towards the bottom of the octave, it's actually an octave and a half, we have our sort of soft drums, and as we work our way up, to that G, we have our louder drums. So if we are playing like this, but you'll notice we have two-hand mapping. So if I use this D and then this D, you can hear they are different drum samples, so it's not exactly the same sample on your left hand and right hand. So you don't get that kind of machine gun effect. And of course, if you combine it with using the neighboring keys, whoops, you get a very, very dynamic performance. Okay, so that's how the instrument works. Now let's talk about what is contained within the instrument. So I'm just going to remove the massive mid-range. You have ensembles at the top. So these are curated ensembles. Now remember, these are instruments that are from Richard Harvey's personal collection. So you're not going to find these anywhere else, really. So we have 29 different instruments there. And dropping down the menu, you can see what different articulations. We're going to look at some of those in a moment. Then we have single instruments. So again, we drop down the menu. You can see we have different articulations. Wonderful. And then we have the processed instruments as well. And again, these massive ensembles that have been created for us. But let's start off with just the epic ensemble. I'm going to load up, in fact, let's load up everything so we get an idea of what it's going to sound like. So single hits. Okay, so there's lots of tonal variation going on. If we go on to flams, so different velocity of flams dynamics. So this one's mapped lower down. So there's a crescendo there. Got upbeats. So these are tempo synced. And then alternative mapping. So you can kind of get some quick performances. And these are velocity sensitive. Okay, I apologise for missing my light guide there. So yeah, we got the best of both worlds, but I love just the way it's laid out like this. Change octave, didn't it? Okay, so I'm kind of hammering away there. Yeah, lovely. So that's Epic Ensemble. Now, there are lots and lots of different ensembles. So, yeah, if I do heavy duty high, low played with hands. Let's do rumbling air sticks. Okay, so very, very snappy. Let's go for rimshot ensemble. So again, very snappy. And of course, this is a percussion library, so some instruments are going to sound quieter than others, as it were. So let's do high ensemble hard beaters. Yeah, they sound great. Tenor drums, beaters on paper. It's getting quite unique here. Okay, so I'm kind of playing in my own flams there. Yeah, Dundun's, let's go mid. Yeah. You know, they sound brilliant. Now, I can't sit here and play all 29 different ensembles, but we're just in the ensembles category, and yeah, they sound fantastic. So if we go onto the solos, if I do raw drums, let's do the whole lot. So we can hear the single hits. So it's nice and punchy. We've got flams. Dynamics. Okay, so crescendo and diminuendo. Lovely. And then alternative mapping as well. Okay, so you can adjust using the velocity. Yeah, they sound cool. So let's open another one. So some very delicate drums as well. Okay, so not everything has to be like massive and bombastic. It's about getting the detail in there as well. So you can have giant ensembles, but having all these detailed smaller drums is really, really useful. So dun mid sticks. Yeah, they sound great. So you can see I'm trying to maximize our time by sort of just whizzing through and jumping. So we've got a clong fat high. Yeah, sounds brilliant. African diamond drum. Good stuff. So you can see these are drums you are not going to find everywhere because they are unique to Richard Harvey. So it's a good example of different volume variation. I'm just going to do one last. See the basso tom, 27-inch hard beater. Yeah. Sounds fantastic, doesn't it? So you've got all of these different single instruments and then the process instruments. And I have to admit, I went straight for the process instruments because I thought processed, I can throw them into my composition straight away. And I was right. Okay, so. They sound brilliant. So that's the Earthquake Ensemble, so it's quite sort of boomy low end. If I do the Epic Ensemble. Brilliant. Let's go Master Punch. So it does sound brilliant. Now, in terms of cinematicness, that is a word. Gritty not broom, boom. Again, this is a boom. Actually, that isn't the boom I was thinking. There is a boom, I think, later on somewhere. Yeah, I'll get to that. But you can hear it's snappy and punchy, but boomy at the same time. Which is very, very cool. Let's go undertow. Lovely. Now, you might start thinking, well, I want those really like snappy drums that pop through. The massive, well, I've done massive low end this time. These are the ones that really, really pop. If I go massive high end, that's what I was going to demo. Okay, so you get the idea. These that the tonal variety is huge, and then we've got things like sticks. The snap is absolutely incredible. And then if I use clock tower, okay, so very, very percussive. Let's do the deep resonance low. So got big boomy orchestral percussion there. I'm going to just quickly come back to these. So boom ensemble is the one I was thinking earlier. For different orchestral booms, it's absolutely wonderful. So it's a bit more hybrid. Now, if I go into action toms, to me these sound more sort of trailery hybrid sounds. Okay, so I move around between different velocities there, but they sound absolutely brill. So we have quite a few of these sort of more process patches. And then Roaring Thunder sounds incredible. And Deep Impact. Very, very cool. So again, these are more designed. And they sound very, very cool. And then down the bottom, I actually haven't mentioned this. We also get this on the single instruments. Oops. We get the single instruments menu. And then on the ensembles, we get the ensembles menu. So we do get these menu patches as well. So if I play through these, so it's loading, loading, loading. Wow. You can hear the volume difference now. Okay, so you have an instrument where everything, in terms of the velocity, so you got two finger velocity control. And you've got every single instrument. So we do that for all three categories. So that is the content. And I say that is the content, that is scratching the surface of the content, but you can see exactly what is available. So the proof is in the pudding, as I always say, so it's always down to the composition. Before we look at the composition, we need to have a quick look at the mix options, the mixer. So I'm going to go into, I'll go into massive low end again. So that's got some resonance going on. I've loaded up the Epic ensembles, and as you can see, we have more microphones. In fact, this is the only instrument I've downloaded all of the microphone mixes for. You get the option, obviously, in the licenses tab to download any extra mics that you want, but everything else will either come with a mix mic or spot and tree and mix. So if I go onto the mixer, we can see we have all of these different mics. So using spot and tree at the moment. So let's turn those off. Got surround. Close vintage. Close. We've got overhead. Got the outriggers. Okay, so these obviously you change your volume using the sliders. Deep tree. I've got the outriggers left on there. And then I've got the room vintage. And the room. Okay, so let's say you want to create your own mic mix. Now, if you want really, really close sounding drums, you can just bring up the close mic. And I might blend those with the outriggers as well. With a bit of ambience, we can add the overhead. Okay, so you have these 10 different mic signals that you can create your own mixes with. But of course, like I say, you have the spot and the tree set as default. But hear how different my mix sounds. Yeah, sounds awesome. So whatever you go with, it's going to sound brilliant. But you have all of this different variation using the mic mixes as well. And that is absolutely wonderful. What we're going to do now is check out a composition that I gave myself 2 hours to create. The reason I gave myself 2 hours is Monolith is a big library. I wanted to feature it in an orchestral setting. So of course 2 hours to write something huge and orchestral isn't, that easy. So I've used some different libraries that are going to help me out in terms of time saving. But of course, I've had a really, really nice think about what I am going to create. So I started off sort of moody, cinematic, then it sort of progressively builds. So we can hear the Monolith percussion in a variety of different settings. So that's really what I was going for. So without further ado, let's check out the composition. Then we're going to talk about what it's like to compose with. And that was my 2 hour Monolith Composing Challenge. Normally I do an hour. However, Monolith is so big, I wanted to go one better. And what is better than 1 hour? 2 hours. And I have to admit, I really enjoyed composing with Monolith. I used 7 tracks and I tried to use a range of different timbres. So we have some low-end booms, we've got some mid-range snap, we've got some sticks, a lot of high-end big ensembles, and of course a little bit of those hybrid percussions as well with the action toms. And then anything in orange are some of my Orchestral Tools staples. So we have the Arc 5 crescendos. I use those all the time with the low horns and the high horns. And then we have the Arc 2 high strings. They're very delicate and soft, but really good for accentuating different chordal passages. We've got the Arc 1 horns, the A9, the old trusty Arc horns, and then Habitat. I absolutely love Habitat, and Summer Night is absolutely gorgeous. It's a piano, it's textural as well, it's brilliant. And then anything in red is something that is non-orchestral tools, but I didn't want to limit myself with the libraries I have. I do have quite a few Orchestral Tools libraries. I've been buying them ever since I've been starting composing again, and they are lovely. And of course, we've been lucky enough to feature a lot of their libraries on this channel. However, I do not have the Berlin series, for example. So I just wanted to use other sounds, shall we say, just to sort of fill out the sound and not limit myself. Now, let's just listen to the intro, because it is simply a drone, a vocal, a cello, and some of the Monolith drums. So we've got the boom, because I wanted to start off big and cinematic, and then we have the massive mid-range. It instantly sets the tone, and I've gone for that kind of harmonic minor feel, so it's mysterious. It's as though we're in some kind of desert, and we just have the really steady Monolith drums, and we also have the high-end drums too, and they're doing a flam, so we get this really nice just percussion bed, as it were. And to give it that cinematic oomph, I have added reverb. So we're going to move further forwards through the composition, and if I just zoom out, we can see we have a bit of a build-up, and it goes into the next section. We're still keeping things steady with the addition of the clock tower. So the clock tower has this nice snappy stick percussion. And it's kind of providing a bit of a pulse. And the massive mid-range, which is very steady all the way through the piece. I gradually increase the velocity of the drums as the piece progresses. So it's kind of always building, which is very cool. And again, we've got the tenor drums. So combined, just with Monolith, we've got some huge drums going on there, which is absolutely wonderful. So let's just unmute those. Now, in terms of other things, we have Habitat, which if you've not used it before, so I chose Summer Nights. It's gorgeous piano with that synth pad behind it, which is slightly delayed. Just gives a kind of like an organic feel to the piece. And then we have an orchestra underneath. Now, eagle-eyed viewers will notice these are blocks. So yes, I had 2 hours to compose. I've not programmed all of the orchestral parts individually because I wanted to hear that, like Monolith in a huge orchestral setting. But of course, we have time constraints over at the Sampleist, and yeah, I just wanted to give a good idea of it. So there are other orchestral instruments, as you can see, but when I solo these off, it's a huge time saver. And we have the drone going on as well underneath. So if I bring in the second orchestra, playing a similar pattern, just an octave higher. We get the idea how it all works, but of course adding different instruments, so the A9 horns for example. We get a nice full orchestral sound. Now, let's just undo that. So this section just kind of builds, and we have this build up here, and we have a more full sounding orchestra. And then we have the full ensemble. So if I was play it from this break, because we're going to have the horn crescendos being out of time otherwise, I've added the action toms, and the action toms are almost hybrid. I forgot to solo them. Let's just solo them very quickly. They just have that punch. So when you play them in the ensemble, they really punch through. But the whole ensemble, if you listen to the different timbres, we've got every frequency covered in the spectrum, and it sounds brilliant. It really, really pops, and again, punches through the entire ensemble. So again, I'm just going to go back from this crescendo. Let's go from here. And this is the main section of the piece. Now, in terms of writing and speed, you'll notice a lot of the patterns are the same. So if I just, let's just look at the MIDI from here. So because the way it's laid out, I'll just zoom a bit more. I'm not writing in lots of different areas. Everything is fairly compact to the same area of the keyboard, so copy and pasting is really, really useful. And of course, having the velocity control for the velocity, so by that I mean, it's a very strange way of putting it. So the velocity isn't about drawing in velocity as you would down the bottom, it's the keys you play. So it's all mapped towards the left of the octave, it's quieter, to the right of the octave, it's higher. And sorry, louder. And that means when you're actually working with it in a compositional sense, it is so easy just to adjust notes. So I was lifting different parts of the choir, for example, and then copy and pasting that into the drums and then just adjusting the velocities with the playable notes. And it's really, really straightforward. So the writing is really, really easy. And I think Monolith is just very, very intuitive when it comes to that. Now, we have this section and then we go back into the A section, but it's a key change. It is a one-tone key change, which I've always referred to as the half Britney. It's a standard modulation. It's not a big deal. Just I remember when I was growing up, and this is such a tangent, I used to listen to a lot of Britney Spears songs, just because I appreciate good pop music sometimes. And most of her songs would have either a whole tone key change, which I would call half Britney, or it'll have a minor third key change, which is a full Britney. So there we go. Strange musical terms, which I just thought I'd share with you. Let's hear it going into the key change. It's absolutely delightful. Can't argue with that. It sounds incredible. I really enjoyed the ending when everything comes back into unison. So if I just quickly play that. And of course, a cheeky triplet as well. Always needed. But the drums, especially as this is the main, or like the big epic ending. They sound fantastic. Like I say, they cover sort of every sort of possible, like sort of high, mid, low that we could look for, different variety of sound. And I'm only using 7 tracks at the moment. That's all, just 7. There's so much more contained within Monolith. So yeah, to compose with, it's really easy, straightforward, intuitive, lovely to work with, sounds brilliant, and very, very sort of diverse in terms of sound. However, like I say, it's a really big library of lots more variety going on. But for me, composing with Monolith, yeah, I think it's a fantastic library. It punches through, sounds very, very clean, and it just sounds incredibly epic. And that's a really good example when you're using the timed low horns, for example, the crescendos were a bit late. Let's do that again. It's epic. It's beautiful stuff. And now it's time for my closing thoughts about Monolith from Orchestral Tools and Richard Harvey. Yes, it sounds big, it's massive, it cuts through the mix. It does sound incredible. But do you need another percussion library? Well, let's make an argument for Monolith. First of all, these are percussions, they're drums, they're things that have been hit and beaten that you are not going to find elsewhere in other libraries. They're very personal to Richard Harvey's own collection, and they've been modified, crafted, changed, something a little bit different. So for that reason, I could argue, yes, we have different percussions and obviously a lot more variation. And then those different percussions, well, like I say, it covers all the lows, the mids, the highs, the clicky, punchy stick bass percussions, the slightly hybrid percussions. It's a huge ranging library. So in my composition, I only used 7 tracks, but there are so many more different instruments that I could have used. So it's going to last you a very, very long time. Is it easy to use? My goodness, yes. I love the layout of percussion libraries like this. So I know the, I don't actually own it myself, but the Tom Holkenberg, the, as they called it when it's released, the JXL percussion, that uses the same system. So it's lower velocities towards a lower octave, or the lower part of the octave, and higher velocities higher up. And then of course you have the 2-hand layout. So in terms of playing in, it's really, really easy to use. Of course, it's really, really easy to program as well. You have so much control over the different velocities and the dynamics of the percussion. Absolutely wonderful. And of course, it's got all the different mic mixes as well. So it's recorded at a Lyndhusrt, and it's a very familiar sounding room, very big, very, very epic. And having those different mic controls, you can get, again, sort of very, very close up, or you can have massive scoring stage percussion. Really, really wonderful stuff. So do I recommend Monolith? Well, yes. I mean, what is not to recommend? It is an absolutely wonderfully crafted instrument. It sounds incredible, and of course, in terms of utility in your mixes, it's going to punch through, it's going to sound big, it's going to sound cinematic. It's just sounding amazing. All that leaves me to say is thank you once again to Orchestral Tools for sending over a copy of Monolith so we could make this video. If you like what you heard, feel free to leave a like and a comment on the video. What do you like about Monolith? What would you use it for? Have you already picked it up in the intro sale? Are you considering getting it? Just let us know your thoughts, and we do endeavour to respond to every comment we have. After digesting Monolith, if you could check out our other videos, that would be absolutely wonderful. We've got loads of content on YouTube, so there's always something for somebody to check out. And please, 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 if you've not done so already, subscribe to our channel. We do check the analytics, and there are 89% of our viewers are actually non-subscribers. So it would mean the world to us if you could support the channel by hitting subscribe. Please remember, we don't use affiliate links, we don't have any form of advertising or any money deals going on with developers. We just love making these videos to showcase the brilliant work of the developers for our fellow composing community. So until next time, have a great day, and of course, keep making that beautiful music.